Ladies and gentlemen, gather close. To understand the complete life story of Kishibe, you must first forget everything you know about shiny hero journeys and sparkling power-ups. His tale isn't painted in bright, optimistic colors. No, it's sketched in stark ink washes, in the harsh chiaroscuro of a world where demons whisper contracts and the strongest men are hollowed out by grief. Think of the archetypes: the grizzled mentor, the unshakable veteran, the guy in the anime who shows up already looking like he's lost 3 wars before the opening credits even roll. Kishibe isn't just that character. He is the blueprint, weathered by rain, cheap whiskey, and the acid blood of 1,000 fiends. To truly grasp the unseen legend of Kishibe is to understand the very soil from which giants grow in the worlds we love. He is not merely a character who enters the frame, he is the living, breathing archetype of the grizzled mentor, but one so thoroughly steeped in the grim reality of his universe that he transcends the trope and becomes its definitive article. Think of any great, dark anime saga. Before our bright-eyed, determined hero can even comprehend the true depth of the abyss they must face, there is always a figure standing at its edge, already coated in its shadow. He's the man in the dimly lit bar when the protagonist seeks information that is too dangerous to know. He's the one who offers a contract not with a flourish, but with a tired sigh, as if handing over a loaded gun to a child. Kishibe is that figure, perfected. His legend isn't sung in taverns or etched on monuments, it is whispered in the corridors of power, known only to the few who have survived long enough in a profession where life expectancy is a punchline. He represents the unseen cost of the hero's journey. For every young devil hunter dreaming of glory, there is a Kishibe who has already paid for that dream in a currency of fallen comrades and shattered idealism. This archetype works because he is the living memory of his world's cyclical brutality. In a narrative like Chainsaw Man, where chaos is a constant and tragedy is mundane, Kishibe has witnessed every iteration. He has seen the golden age hopefuls, the talented prodigies who burned too bright and fast, the cynical veterans who finally made one mistake too many. He has seen devils rise and fall, and he understands that the names and faces change, but the dance of violence remains the same. He isn't surprised by betrayal, by horrific power, or by sudden, meaningless death. His weary, perpetually unimpressed expression is the face of a man who has predicted the tragic third act of your story before you've even finished the prologue. He has watched the cycle of hope and despair, not as an observer, but as a participant who has been chewed up and spat out by it multiple times over. His presence tells us, the audience, that this world has history, weight, and consequence. It tells us that the shiny new powers our protagonist discovers are not toys, but ancient, dangerous tools that have claimed countless users before. But what makes Kishibe's version of this archetype so compelling is his brutal, almost nihilistic methodology. The classic mentor, a Jiraiya, a Silver's Rayleigh, often has a hidden heart of gold, a twinkle in their eye beneath the gruff exterior. Their training is harsh but ultimately rooted in care. Kishibe, he operates on a principle of survival of the fittest, as a form of morbid mercy. His training of Denji and Power wasn't about unlocking their potential, it was a deliberately cruel filter. Throwing them into a deadly confrontation with the Eternity Devil wasn't a lesson, it was a test. Would they break? Would they die? Or would the raw, ugly will to live force them to evolve? He doesn't believe in gentle guidance because his world offers none. His mentorship is a microcosm of the devil hunter existence, a brutal, unforgiving gauntlet where the only reward for passing is the privilege of facing something even worse. He prepares them not for victory, but for the sheer, degrading act of persistence. Furthermore, he embodies the tragic paradox of knowledge. He is the most knowledgeable character in the room, aware of secret government divisions, the true nature of devils, and the horrific truths behind public safety. Yet, this knowledge has not empowered him to change the system, it has imprisoned him within it. He knows exactly how the machine grinds people up, and his role has shifted from trying to stop it to, at best, trying to occasionally oil a cog so it doesn't scream so loudly. This knowledge separates him from everyone else, creating an unbridgeable gap of understanding. He cannot share the full horror of what he knows with the younger generation, because to do so might break them before they're even useful. So, he bears the weight alone, and that weight manifests as cynicism, alcoholism, and a demeanor so abrasive it keeps any semblance of hopeful connection at bay. Ultimately, Kishibe's legend is unseen, because its true scale is not in the grand feats he performs on screen, but in the negative space of his existence. We don't need a flashback arc of his greatest battles to understand his power. We see it in the way Makima, a being of unimaginable control, acknowledges him warily. We see it in the fact that he is the one entrusted with the most dangerous, unstable assets, not because he's a good handler, but because he is perhaps the only one who might survive if they turn. His strength is communicated through the reactions of others and the sheer, unshakable authority of his presence. He is a fixed point in a chaotic narrative, a landmark so weathered by storm that you know, simply by his continued existence, just how ferocious those storms must be. He is the end of the road that the bright-eyed hero fears becoming. He is the answer to the question, what happens after you survive? And the answer is, you get a little meaner, a lot more tired, and you become a legend not for what you built, but for everything you endured and everything you lost along the way. That is the essence of the unseen legend, not a story told, but a story inferred through every scar, every sip of whiskey, and every tactically brutal lesson meant not to create a hero, but to forge a survivor in a world that devours anything less. Let us now dispense with the notion of a biography written in ink. Kishibe's history is not a chronicle one can find in a public safety archive. His complete life story is an epic not bound by paper, but carved into the very landscape of his being. It is a brutal, physical text where every mark is a clause in the devil's bargain of his existence. Each is a landmark from a war that never ended. Begin with the most prominent text, the crosshatch of scars upon his face. These are not the souvenirs of a single, glorious battle. This is layered history. Look closely, this is the grammar of violence. The intersecting lines tell a story of a fighter who doesn't merely block or dodge, he calculates the minimum viable sacrifice. One scar was the price for a killing blow against a knife devil. Another was the down payment for snatching a rookie from the jaws of the zombie devil. They are a map of countless close calls, a permanent record of a life lived perpetually on the edge of a blade. They speak of a man whose first instinct in any conflict is to analyze the cost, accept it, and then move through the attack. They are his doctrine, written in flesh. This text extends downward to the perpetual, ragged 5 o'clock shadow. This is not a style choice, nor is it mere laziness. This is the stubble of a man for whom sleep is a tactical vulnerability, and vanity died with his first comrade. It is the physical manifestation of chronic exhaustion, a life where rest is a brief ceasefire, not peace. It tells you he is always on shift. The razor is a luxury for men who believe in a future tidy enough to warrant a clean shave. Kishibe knows better. The next emergency call could come at any minute, and a few seconds spent grooming or seconds a civilian bleeds out. His face is perpetually in a state of readiness, a mask of weary preparedness. And then, the most telling punctuation in this grim manuscript, his hand. It is a weapon, calloused and steady as a surgeon's, yet it is so often wrapped around the base of a heavy glass. This is where the silent story finds its voice. The whiskey is not for celebration or even simple pleasure, it is a chemical dam. It holds back the floodwaters of memory that those scars represent. Each sip is a deliberate act of holding the line against the ghosts whose names are etched just beneath the skin. The steadiness of that hand as it raises the glass is the true measure of his strength, not that he is unaffected, but that he has built a fortress of will to manage the trauma. The glass is an altar to all he has lost, and the ritual is one of controlled containment. Finally, the eyes. They are not windows to a soul, but frosted glass over a deep, still well. The youthful fire, the righteous anger, the spark of camaraderie, all have been consumed, leaving behind a flat, assessing gaze that misses nothing and judges everything. They are the eyes of a man who has seen the finale of 100 personal tragedies and knows how the script ends. They do not light up with excitement, they merely narrow with recognition of a familiar, grim pattern. To read Kishibe is to understand that his greatest battles left no craters in cities, but these indelible marks upon his person. He is a living document of a devil hunter's career, a testament written not in the glory of victories, but in the brutal, accumulated cost of survival. His story isn't told, it is worn. Let us examine the central, crushing paradox of Kishibe's strength. In our beloved shonen sagas, power is often a path to enlightenment, to protection, to a brighter future. But in the visceral, unforgiving realm Kishibe inhabits, we are shown a far darker truth. True, ultimate strength is not forged in victory, but in absolute, devastating loss. Kishibe stands as the peak of human capability within public safety not because he was born a prodigy, but because everything that could make a man weak, love, compassion, trust, hope, has been systematically burned away in the crucible of his duty, leaving only the diamond-hard, cold core of a perfect weapon. Consider the journey of a typical protagonist. They gain power to protect their friends, to achieve a dream, to fulfill a promise. Their strength is fueled by connection. Kishibe's power operates on the opposite principle. His strength is the direct result of severed connections. Every bond he has ever formed has likely become a liability, a point of vulnerability exploited by the cruel intelligence of devils or the machinations of his own superiors. We can infer that his legendary status was not achieved by saving everyone, but by being the sole survivor, time and again. Each comrade lost, each ally turned to tragedy, was not a setback, it was, in the horrific calculus of his world, a lesson. A lesson that attachment is a flaw in your armor, that mercy is a hesitation that gets you killed, and that hope is a distraction from the grim, immediate work of survival. His strength is not an expanding force, but a contracting one. It is the power of a man who has nothing left to lose, and therefore, nothing left for an enemy to hold hostage. This makes him the ultimate, tragic protector. He does not fight for a better tomorrow. That concept died for him long ago. He fights for a continued today. His purpose is purely mechanical. To be the hardened shield for a world that will never know his name, and to manage the chaotic, human weapons, the Denjis and the Powers, who still possess the flammable emotions he has long since extinguished in himself. His mentorship is a form of brutal, pragmatic care. He cannot give them hope, for he knows it is a lie. He cannot offer comfort, for comfort gets you killed. All he can give them is the unvarnished, ugly truth of survival, often through methods so harsh they border on cruelty. In sanding down their edges with violence and betrayal, he is, in his own broken way, trying to give them the only gift he has left, the hollow strength of endurance. He prepares them not to be heroes, but to be survivors who might one day stand where he stands, alone, unmatched, and utterly empty. This is the tragic paradox. He is the strongest because he is the most broken. His will is unbreakable precisely because everything that could bend it has been stripped away. He is the final, flawless product of a system that consumes humanity to fight monsters, a man who became a legend by surrendering everything that made him a man. His strength is not a triumph, it is a monument to everything he has been forced to sacrifice upon its altar. The final measure of Kishibe's legacy is a sharp, dangerous, and deeply ironic one. In the anime worlds we cherish, a mentor's success is often framed by a heroic student's climactic victory, a tearful salute, and the promise of a brighter future. But Kishibe exists in a narrative that mocks such clean endings. His legacy cannot be seen in monuments or peaceful resolutions. It can only be seen in the jagged, living weapons he has left in his wake. His success is a generation of survivors forged in his own brutally pragmatic image, capable of enduring a world he knows as hell. It is a legacy of sharp edges, passed down through even sharper lessons. Consider his students. Denji is no noble hero. He is a chaotic, selfish, and brutally effective combatant whose primary drive is base survival and simple desire, a direct reflection of Kishibe's own stripped-down worldview. Power was a feral, unpredictable devil, and Kishibe's method wasn't to tame her, but to weaponize that feral nature, to sand down just enough of her edges to make her a viable part of the team without extinguishing the very chaos that made her effective. He didn't teach them honor or justice, he taught them the cold arithmetic of combat, when to retreat, when to betray, how to leverage every advantage, no matter how unseemly. He didn't build them up, he hardened them, and in doing so, he proved that his philosophy, however bleak, works. They survived battles that should have killed them, not through the power of friendship, but through the harsh, selfish instincts he either nurtured or deliberately provoked in them. This is the core of his legacy. He is not the root of a mighty, beautiful tree. He is the anvil upon which serviceable steel is hammered. His success is not measured by how much his pupils love him, they demonstrably do not, but by how effectively they can now withstand the blows of the world. He has replicated his own functional, damaged resilience in them. He looked at the naive, vulnerable humanity in Denji and the chaotic devilry in Power and recognized them as fatal flaws. His training was a controlled process of removing those flaws, leaving behind a harder, more durable, and less human entity. In this, he succeeded perfectly. The ultimate irony, the unspoken tragedy of this legacy, is that it works too well. He has forged individuals who are now capable of operating in the darkness without him. They have internalized his most crucial lesson: trust no one, rely only on yourself, and always be ready for the betrayal. This means they certainly don't rely on him. He has made himself obsolete, ensuring his own profound loneliness even in his success. He can never admit he cares, because to do so would invalidate the very first principle of his instruction. Any flicker of pride he might feel in their survival is immediately quenched by the knowledge of what they had to lose to achieve it, the same things he lost. Thus, Kishibe's legacy is not a torch passed to illuminate the future. It is a filed-down shiv, passed in a darkened alley, so the next generation can survive the same back-alley fights. It is a legacy written not in grateful smiles, but in the grim set of a jaw that has learned to take a punch, in the cynical glare that now anticipates betrayal, and in the stubborn, ugly will to live that persists when all higher ideals have crumbled. His story ends not with a pupil waving goodbye from a sunlit path, but with the echoing clang of the anvil, and the knowledge that the blades he forged are now sharp enough to cut their way through the endless night, alone.